Hi, my name is Nick Blake and I'm the owner of Forage Australia. I'm also the head chef at Black Bunny Kitchen. We specialise in cooking low and slow over a wood fire. We're going through a bit of a change at the moment. It's very seasonal and it's a produce-driven menu which we're very excited about. For me, foraging is about connecting to the landscape, and it's about utilising the ingredients that we have at our fingertips and learning to prepare and use ingredients in new ways that people may not have experienced before. So I like to start early in the morning. It's a cooler part of the day. So trying to get out there early and pick things and get them away on ice so they can arrive to customers in the best possible conditions is really important. Well, my great-grandmother was Burmese, Parsi, Irish sort of mix, so I suppose that gave me my great love of cooking and flavour profiles, or hot and sweet and sour. I actually spent 15 years in Fiji growing up there, and foraging was something we just did on the weekend. I used to swim in the creek and pick guavas and chocos and tapioca and breadfruit and bring it back for mum to cook up. I suppose having all that tropical produce on our doorstep was something quite natural to us as kids. When I came to Australia years later, going out into the landscape, picking and eating things was quite a natural process for me. This particular one is pineapple sage. It's common throughout the hinterland regions, also common along all our roadsides under sort of dominant tree cover. It does really well with the shade and moisture. I brought Chris and Zeb out, who I currently supply. Really unique, very creative chefs in their own right.
So we'll use these for shochu, or flavour like a sugar syrup. We'll use it on dessert, so we'll put the flowers on top, make a sugar syrup. It's interesting, it's good to use everything from the local environment. Have a nick around is good, you know, like we use a lot of regional food, so this is just emphasising our local area. It's the main focus.
It's just a beautiful wild flower. There we go, first one for the day. They're fruit bats. They've been here for the last couple of months. I thought no better place to come down and see some of the Queensland wildlife in the hinterland than down here in Little Yabba. I normally get a little bit of watercress out of these creeks. Watercress is actually an exotic species. It's actually not a native one. It can be invasive in these environments. I've got a background in environmental science. I was always looking to try and include that in my cookery and bring the two together somehow. And so I started picking things here and there, building confidence and researching and talking to other foragers around the world, and I created a little list. And so now I work with a lot of local chefs, and we're actively supplying those ingredients, and that's, I suppose, how Wild Forage came together. This is Old Man's Beard. A forager is very important to know what regulations there are. I have supplied all my species to the Department of Environment and Heritage Protection, and they've actually ticked them all off against what's nationally accepted as species of least concern, or whether they're native or restricted species, and I've been given the tick for the ones that I forage specifically. In order to make it edible, you have to actually blanch it, so it removes all the toxins. Being a forager is really important to know what product you're picking, really getting the IDs correct, what the flowers look like, what the leaves look like. There's a lot of things that are very similar. You could actually be picking something that's poisonous, so it's very important to go out with someone that actually knows what they're doing, has been picking and has some credentials, I suppose, as well, because public safety is very important. So I forage seaweeds along our coastline, I pick little succulents behind our dunes. The Sunshine Coast local community is very active. I think we're all beach-loving people, spend a lot of time on the coastline. And I think us bring a little bit of technique and a little bit of creativity and a little bit of a story and emotion to it, and I think people warm to that and they get really excited that they can actually eat something that is truly local to the Sunshine Coast, and it's a bit different as well. So this one is Sargassum meticum, so it's also called Japanese wireweed. Just started coming to season now. They grow up to about 10 centimetres a day in summer. It's definitely an invasive species. It blocks all the light out in the water column. I've been coming to these 3 little rock pools here for about 2 years now and just taking the little tops and using them in the kitchen. It's amazing as a chef to actually step outside the kitchen, to get out there in nature and to take a breath and feel inspired by what you're picking is really uplifting as a chef. We've got a little small piece here of sea lettuce or Alva lactuca. It almost looks like green cellophane and doesn't have much flavour as such, but high in, I suppose, fibre, protein, vitamin A, B, C, D, B12. It's got a lot of things, but the taste is kind of like the breeze or the breath of the sea.
So at the moment we're using the sea lettuce to flavour in a sago cracker. So we're using it to add texture and a little bit of salt to the dish. And if we're doing a seafood dish, we've got seaweeds from the area and it's the same rocks that scallop may sit on as the seaweeds growing next to it.
Seaweed is such a big part of Japanese culture, so I've pretty much used all the seaweeds here. This one at the moment we're drying out, making into a powder, then we're making like a biscuit, a savoury biscuit. For me, this one here is probably the most beautiful one. It goes on a lot of our little dishes. We'll put little pieces of it on top of oysters just for the texture. All 3 of us are from regional restaurants and we're kind of shrinking it down to show everyone that this is where we come from and we're really, really proud of the great ingredients we've got, and come and eat it.
I actually won a competition. I wrote in and I needed a bit of help, and there was a small business grant going with BizCover. I won this $2,000 fridge freezer here, so this is becoming an integral part of what I do. So it keeps my product perfectly crisp overnight. The plan is for me to put this, actually wire it into my truck with a dual battery, and I can take this with me out pretty much all day and keep my product in perfect conditions. It's a sashimi cut of yellowfin tuna. I'm using this beautiful locally grown amaranth from the Mooloolah Valley. And then of course some of the pineapple sage. For that herbaceous flavour that comes through in the flour, I'll be putting a couple of those on there as well. And to bring that whole story together, we're using some of these local seaweeds, so just some of the soft tops that we picked early this morning. And you can, if I rummage through here, I'll find some of those lovely little air bladders. So it'll be a nice little pop, refreshing to the sea burst, and a touch of texture, a little bit of the gristillari as well. Okay, the exciting part, here we go guys. Local Mooloolah yellowfin tuna. And then I've just done a little brunoise of green apple and cucumber. I've dressed that with a little bit of Queensland finger lime, some of our forage herbs there. So I hope you enjoy it. Foraging is about going out there and connecting to the ingredient and learning to taste and feel inspired again. And we're returning to the source, to what it should be about.